The drama from before, during and after the Bahrain Grand Prix has given us plenty of news to talk about. From Red Bull executives claiming that Aston Martin is engaging in corporate espionage, Mercedes preparing to sacrifice a substantial part of the 2023 season, to Max Verstappen declaring that the upcoming race in Saudi Arabia will be a lot closer than Bahrain. What exactly does Mercedes have up its sleeve? What major changes are they planning? Why exactly did Max say Saudi Arabia will be closer than Bahrain? Stick around to the end to uncover Helmut Marko's serious accusations about Aston Martin. Spoiler, he didn't hold back. So, let's get stuck in. So why is George Russell willing to sacrifice 2023 Mercedes car development for long-term gains? With its new W14, which unlike its predecessor is not hampered by porpoising, Mercedes was hoping to take a significant step forward. However, Bahrain's season opener quickly revealed that the gap to Red Bull has grown once more. It also called into question the German team's decision to stick with its distinctive vehicle design, given that Aston Martin, which closely adheres to Red Bull's design philosophy, has demonstrated that it easily outperforms the Mercedes. On Saturday night, team principal Toto Wolff admitted that he didn't think this package would ultimately be competitive, which may cause the team to head down a radical design direction. Even though such a shift could be time-consuming and compromise the team's performance in 2023, Russell said that he was willing to take a hit this year if it meant that Mercedes could finally be competitive in the long run. "We're here to win," Russell said after coming in 7th in the Bahrain race on Sunday. "We obviously want to optimise every single result, but if you give me a choice between fighting and having a chance to win races, whenever that is, versus slow progress and never having that chance, you obviously choose one of taking those victories. So, if we want to sacrifice some races or part of a season to give ourselves a chance to get a car that can fight, whether it's the second half of the season or even if it's looking towards next year, that's maybe what we're going to have to do because clearly we're a long way behind." Russell acknowledged that Mercedes' regression was a significant setback at a time when the manufacturer was hoping that the mandated 15mm floor raise for 2023 would enable its design concept to reach its full potential. The British driver, however, didn't think that switching from Mercedes' zero side pod design to Red Bull's concept will instantly improve the team's results because the floor is a much bigger factor in performance. "The reason we've still got this skinny side pod concept is because we still believe that is the best, and to be honest, still believe we're not going to transform our performance if we came next week with a Red Bull style sideboard," he thought. Before we move on, do you think Mercedes had a mistake sticking to the 2022 concept? Let us know in the comments below. Moving on, you're going to want to hear what Max Verstappen said about the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Verstappen led Sergio Perez to victory in a commanding 1-2 for the team in Bahrain, prompting several rivals to give depressing assessments of the chances against the drinks-back team. Given their advantage in Bahrain, Russell boldly predicted that Red Bull could win every race in 2023, while teammate Lewis Hamilton, who finished 5th and 50 seconds behind Red Bulls, noted that the gap to the front was huge. But despite that ominous start to the season, Verstappen acknowledged that he does not plan to bet on them winning every race this year. He added that the distinctive elements of the Jeddah street circuit could bring rivals into play. "Saudi is quite a different track to Bahrain," Verstappen told media. "You have a lot more straights, fast corners and a lot less degradation. I think here we're particularly good on the degradation, so I expect in terms of race pace that everyone is closer in Jeddah." One driver who has a legitimate shot at being the catalyst for a challenge to the current champions is Fernando Alonso. The Spaniard qualified P5 ahead of both Mercedes drivers and raced past Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz to finish on the podium. In fact, if teammate Lance Stroll hadn't clipped him on the first lap as they entered turn 4, he would have been much closer to the front runners with less other drivers to pass. Alonso last won a race back in 2013 while driving for Ferrari, defeating Kimi Raikkonen to win the Spanish Grand Prix. His wait for a world title has been even longer, Alonso unable to add to his back-to-back victories in 2005-2006. Although he hinted that Aston Martin might mount a challenge at times, Verstappen ultimately refrained from predicting a title challenge. I think for this year, it will be difficult to say if you're going to challenge for the championship, but race wins are definitely on the table, he added. I've been in the same position where in some races I'm finishing 20 to 40 seconds behind the winners, and you can win 2 or 3 races a year because sometimes there are some tracks that really suit your car and everything just comes together. You can win a race with maybe sometimes a bit of help or luck. But for sure, they have a really strong package, and now of course it's all about developing it further. Now that you've got you talking about Aston Martin, let's get down to the spicy drama. How did Helmut Marko level serious accusations against the Aston Martin design team? Well, Red Bull has lost important employees to Aston Martin over the past 2 years, most notably the design team members Dan Fallows and Andrew Alessi. So when Aston Martin released a significantly updated car last season, one that looked remarkably like the Red Bull RB18, it caused quite a stir. Red Bull questioned this, but the FIA determined that there was nothing suspicious and that the AMR22's intellectual property belonged entirely to Aston Martin. In fact, the team claimed they had actually started working on the B-Spec design in 2021 before Fallows transferred over. But Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko is once more raising concerns, pointing to this year's AMR22 because it once more bears a striking resemblance to the Red Bull F1 car. It's true that what Fallows had in his head cannot be erased, he asserted. Copying the Focus is not prohibited, but can you copy it in such detail without having documentation of our car? We had 3 Red Bulls on the podium, only the last one with a different engine. His remarks followed those of team principal Christian Horner, who made a comparable statement in a post-race interview with Sky Sports. It goes without saying that this is a serious accusation. It'll be interesting to see how the dynamic between the two teams may change. It might be all fun and games for the time being, but if Aston Martin takes the fight to Red Bull, things could quickly get out of hand. But a tremendous amount of work needs to be done first. While the AMR23 has unmistakably demonstrated its ability to be fast out of the blocks, the key question is whether they can compete in the F1 development race. Last season, the AMR22 was one of the most improved cars in the back of half of the championship, and Aston Martin needs to put in a similar performance if they want to stay near the front of the pack. But while it's hard to believe that Aston Martin has what it takes to mount a serious charge for the title, Alonso has been very outspoken in his confidence, warning his rivals that the Bahrain podium was just the beginning. There are a couple of areas that we have to improve that I will not share, he explained to the media. But I think the most important point is that the new Aston Martin is just a new car, a new project. This is just the beginning. This is not the final car. This is just the starting core of this concept that we changed over winter. I think some of the top teams just kept the philosophy that they had last year. Red Bull or Ferrari, they kept more of the same shapes. For us, it was much more difficult. We had to change 95% of the car. So I guess there is much more to learn from the car. There's more to come on our side. So full trust in our team. Obviously, they know what they're doing, so this is hopefully going to improve soon. It's very exciting to see a team like Aston Martin challenging at the front of the pack. In fact, it might be the first time in recent memory that a midfield team might actually break into the top long term. But what do you guys think? Is that even possible at this point? Did Aston Martin gain so much over the winter because they copied Red Bull? If you enjoyed this video, you're going to want to click the video on your screen now. You won't regret it. Thanks a lot for watching.